Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start our code compliance meeting. My name is Casey Waterhouse. I'm filling in for Kyle Bauman, who is the special magistrate for the city of Fort Walton Beach. If everyone would please, obviously, it's a city meeting, please silence all of your cell phones. Be respectful of the process. If we can, let's go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. So please stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What's that mean?
Magistrate, excuse me.
Let that be an example of what not to do. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and swear in everyone. I'm going to be hearing 2 cases, and Mr. Bauman's going to be hearing 2 other cases, but we're going to go ahead and swear in every person who will be testifying this morning. Okay?
And sir, if you have a matter today, Mr. Neri, all right, does everyone swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, everyone, you're under oath. When your matter comes up, everything you say will be considered testimony.
And if anyone's following along with the agenda, we're going to go slightly out of order. So I'm going to go ahead and call the 2 cases that are coming before me this morning, and then Mr. Bauman will do the approval of the agenda or of the minutes once he takes over. So the case, and I assume, Mr. Burns, we're just going to call both of them at the same time, or would you like to do them separately?
It might make sense to do them separately since they're 2 separate properties.
That's perfectly fine with me. So we're going to call, if you're following along on the agenda, it's 8.2 under the public hearings. It's case number CE 23613 PR. And that is City of Fort Walton Beach versus Sharon Irene Trent 508 Parkview Road Northwest A-B in Fort Walton Beach. Okay, Mr. Burns, is the city ready to proceed?
They are, and staff will present first, and then Mr. Neri will have a chance to rebut.
Okay.
This is case number 8.2 on your agenda. My name is Ed Moore, Code Inspector, City of Fort Walton Beach. This is case number CE 23613 PR. This case pertains to 508 Parkview Road Northwest, Fort Walton Beach, Florida 32547. According to the tax records, the owner of said property is Sharon Irene Trent. 128 days ago, on December 11, 2023, the property was found in violation of permit required, Code Section 30105, and Florida Building Code Section 105.1. It was failure to obtain a required permit before commencing with the construction of carport structures on the property. On January 29, 2024, service was obtained for the notice of violation. On March 11, 2024, re-inspection of the property found the violation had not been corrected. On March 14, 2024, service was obtained for the notice of hearing. On April 15, 2024, photographs of the violation was taken. And today, April 17, 2024, the property remains in violation. Staff would like to enter the exhibits into the record. Exhibit A is a case history report. Exhibit B is a list of exhibits. Exhibit C is a notice of hearing and proof of service. Exhibit D is a notice of violation and proof of service. Exhibit E is a copy of the inspector's qualifications. Exhibit F is a copy of the tax record showing the property's ownership. And Exhibit G are photographs of the violation. Staff is requesting acceptance of findings of fact, conclusions of law, and issuance of Order 1, including the $325 administrative fee. Staff also recommends 14 days time for compliance of the violation with a recommended compliance deadline of May 1st, 2024. Mr. Neri, you want to review the case file, if there's any objections? It's just the notices we sent you, like, basically read into the record.
Yeah.
And so there's pictures too?
Yes, sir.
Has Mr. Neri reviewed those as well? I guess.
Say it again.
Is Mr. Neri? Okay, all right, just making sure.
Okay, so no objection, Mr. Neri?
No objections.
Wonderful, they'll be admitted. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are admitting exhibits A through G, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and they've all been marked. Thank you. Give me just a moment. Okay. Does the city have any further testimony?
Just the pictures that Bert has up on the screens, just showing the view of the property from Parkview, facing south. And those are the carport structures on the property. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
And are these the same pictures that are your exhibit G?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. They're a little easier to see up there. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and without anything further from the city, we can go ahead and hear from Ms. Trineri. Okay, you may proceed, ma'am. Good morning.
It's hard to describe where to start. These have been up for 8 years. When I was on the Code Enforcement Board, I came in and I spoke, and this was before I put them up. I spoke with Bert and I asked him, what did I have to put them up? I was told I did not need a permit. But I had Carolina carports install these, so they're professionally installed. I was told that they had to be up to a wind, it was recommended that they be up to a wind tolerance of 140 miles an hour. And it was recommended that they be at least 6 feet tall so that people would not have their vision obstructed as they look down the street. So that's what I did. I paid extra for the 140 mile per hour wind tolerance, and I paid extra for the 6 foot tall stanchions so that people would not have their vision obstructed looking down the street. Like I said, this was 8 years ago, and now suddenly I'm being targeted for this, and as you can see, they're nicely done. They're not lean-tos. They don't look like garbage. I've never had a complaint, and when I asked the city who did do the complaining, it's the city who complained. Nobody on the street has complained, and like I said, they've been up for 5 years, and my understanding is there is a 5-year statute of limitations on code enforcement throughout the state of Florida.
Do you have a section under
And
Florida?
you know what, I was looking for it last night because I saw it last week, and I didn't print it out at the time, and I should have, but it's in the it's in the section of the code enforcement law.
Ms. Juarez, do you mind? 'Cause I am the attorney for the magistrate action board.
Absolutely, you may go.
The statute of limitations applies to challenging a code enforcement board decision.
What is that?
The statute of limitations applies to challenging a decision of a city on a code enforcement matter, not actually bringing a code enforcement action itself.
Does that really make sense if you can,
I'm not here to debate with you, Mr. Neri.
No, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm trying to understand because when I had these installed, I wanted to comply with the city. So that's why I did all that. That's also why you don't see any other carports on the property because I have 4 other properties contiguous to that. But then they changed their mind and said, yes, permits were going to be required. And so I did not put any more up. But at the time, there were no permits required.
Okay, So 8 years ago, you placed 2 carports on that particular property, which is the subject of today's hearing. And I'm gonna allow the city an opportunity to cross-examine you and ask questions, but I wanna make sure I'm understanding what you stated. So 8 years ago, approximately,
Yes.
the 2 carports on 508 Parkview Road Northwest were erected, according to you, with some verbal approval or not needing a permit to do so.
Correct.
You indicated that at some point thereafter, you were told permits were going to be required.
Only about a month ago.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Okay.
It has never been an issue up until recently.
Okay, do you have anything further?
Well, I believe I've been targeted by the city. I've upset somebody, and so they're going after me for anything they can. And this was the one thing, and Bert and Ed both know about it, because Bert, when I was on the board, Bert stopped me one time and said, you know, one of your tenants has got an unlicensed vehicle. It's like, oh, really? I didn't know. So, you know, he would kind of watch out for my property. And until I moved in, and then I lived there for 8 years or 6 years, or I don't know how many years, and then I moved over to Elliott Point 2 years ago. And I filed a complaint against somebody here in the city, and ever since then, I've been under the radar. But as you can see, I take pretty good care of my property. I'm not a slumlord. I don't try to break the law.
Okay. Anything further?
No. And again, it was installed by Carolina Carport, so it was up to the code as it applied, although we didn't have to have a permit.
Okay. Okay, does the city have any questions?
So the difference between Destin and Fort Walton, I represent you or assist you.
Okay.
If you want me to ask your questions, I can on your behalf. If you need
Or
any
I can
questions,
ask questions
you can ask
directly.
questions directly.
Perfect.
So.
Let me ask you just a couple questions so
Sure.
I can get the timeline down. So you indicated that's why we don't see any other carports erected is because you were told you needed to get a permit, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm a little confused as to why, so there are no further carports erected, but you had these 2 erected 8 years ago. Did you decide not to erect any from?
That's correct, because it just added to the expense. And I'm a small landlord. I only have 7 properties that are all contiguous to one another there. And I would have liked to have put them all up, but again, the permit was required, and I just didn't want to go through that, quite honestly.
And to confirm, you just found out permits were required approximately a month ago?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, I will say, I will say that in the city's defense, back then, and I'm not sure when the property next door became part of the city, but when my father built these, he had these 3 properties put into, he had them, I'm not sure of the proper terminology, but annexed into the city because he wanted his tenants to be able to play golf as cheaply as possible. And only with proof of residency in the city could you play golf with resident rates. So these were in the city. However, when one of my properties caught fire by lightning about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the fire department said, oh no, you have to call the county. And my tenant said, no, it's in the city. And then the city said, no, you gotta call the county. The county said, you gotta call the city. They didn't know, because these were the only, at the time, these were the only 3 properties on that street that were actually in the city limits. So I can see, in deference to the city, I can see where there might have been some confusion at some point, but I still did ask. I still did what I was told, as far as the wind velocity and the height, as if it was a permit, and so, but no permit was required, and I was told that. But I did not get it in writing because I didn't think that this would ever come up.
Okay. I may be going a little out of order, and for that, I apologize, just because we do things a little clearly differently in Destin. But there is a note on the Exhibit A from the city where you could have obtained an after-the-fact permit for erecting the carports, obtaining an after-the-fact permit. Has that, and certainly
I was told when I came to the last hearing that was postponed because I didn't get the email. I don't do business through email, so I didn't get it. So I appeared, and Bert told me, rather rudely I'll say, that I could either take them down, have the tops removed, or file for a variance, which costs $1,650. So I don't have $3,000, $4,000 to take them down, number one. Number two, tenants like them because it protects their most expensive, usually one of the most expensive items they're going to have. It just keeps the sun off of them, and tenants like it. So why would I want to take them down? I was not informed that there could be an after permit. But again, why would I have to do that when I was complying with the law in the first place by asking if a permit was required? Why would I have to get a permit after the fact? I mean, that just doesn't make good sense.
wow. Okay. So is there anything further? I'm going to take this under advisement, and I will, unless the city can tell me, was this code section in?
They told me the only reason that that they're arguing with me is because of an aerial photograph.
Well, be that as it may, my question is, was this section enacted at the time that that those carports were erected?
It was, and if I can give you some further clarification,
Yes,
I'd love to.
sir. Yes, and let's just, for the record, let's allow him to go ahead and speak. That would be very helpful.
I'm Robert Rhodes, Code Inspector, City of Fort Walton Beach. I'm also Bert, as she's referred to.
Okay.
I've been with the city for 28 years. I've never told her that a permit was not required. That code was in effect the entire 28 years that I've been here, so it's always been in effect. Additionally, as she stated, she's been on the Code Enforcement Board multiple terms, which means probably minimum of 6 years of code enforcement, where she's heard cases as you are right now, and she's had numerous permit-required cases presented to her, including ones for accessory structures just like this one. The reason that she'd need a variance is, in addition to the permit required, these two structures are also a setback issue. So she can't just pull a permit after the fact. She'd need a variance first. We were willing to extend the time frame for her to do that, but it is a costly expense to get a variance.
May I ask a clarification question?
Absolutely, Ms. Burns.
Would she need two separate variance applications because it's two separate properties, or is it one property?
No, sir.
It's one
Just
property.
one.
All right.
If you have any further questions.
And I could ask you, ma'am, but when was she on the code compliance? When did she?
Her specific terms, I couldn't tell you when she was on. This clerk may have that record. I don't know if she's got it available, but within the last, well, she may be on the board right now that we're not utilizing. And
Okay.
then prior to that, several years off the board, and then before that, she was on for 3 years, several years back.
Okay. No, that does help me. Thank you very much, Mr. Rhodes. Ms. Trenary, do you recall when you were on the board? Code compliance or worked in?
No, ma'am, I don't. I moved away. Excuse me, I moved away 2004. I think I moved down to Sarasota, and then I came back. Gosh, I don't know.
gonna take this under advisement, but Ms. Trineri, I do find, I am gonna accept the findings of fact. I mean, although
I
I,
don't have that kind of money right now because Home Depot has screwed me and it cost me $60,000, so
Well,
I don't have any money.
perhaps the city can work with you, or you can work something out, but it does seem to me that you knew or should have known, according to Mr. Rhodes' testimony, which I find credible. He did not tell you that you did not need a variance, or I'm sorry, a permit, that you could erect the carports without a permit.
I'm sure he doesn't recall, but I couldn't make that up.
Well, and I do find, given that you've been in this arena, so to speak, with code enforcement, dealing with issues of structures being erected without a permit and setback issues, I just don't find it reasonable to believe that you would have your carports erected in setbacks without feeling or thinking that you would otherwise need a permit, or just using, even if it were true, even if I took what you're saying as true, that Bert, Mr. Rhodes, told you didn't need a permit,
How far into the, what,
Well,
this is the first I'm hearing about a setback.
let's,
Waterhouse, our current term date began February 14th of 2023.
Okay.
And has yet to expire. She's still on the board.
okay, I feel as, or my findings are, that it would not be fair to the citizens of Fort Walton for you to be sitting in this arena and making decisions while you're not in compliance and did not receive a permit. So I would suggest, I'm gonna make,
Well, this is the first I'm hearing about a setback issue. I just thought it was about the permit, so what's the setback issue?
Do you mind if I think this might be, I think Mr. Gibson's present, he's the one who knows the code a little bit better, Mr. Neri, but I'm assuming the reason you cannot get a permit is because you're going to need to seek a variance to the setback requirements. Is that accurate, Mr. Gibson?
That's correct.
And that's Tim Gibson for the record. So, Mr. Neri,
This is the first I'm
what
hearing.
you'll have to do is get a variance on the setbacks, and if you get the variance granted, then you can go get your after-the-fact permit granted by the city.
and that would prevent, you from having to take down obviously the variance would have to be granted, but I would suggest, certainly, there are options. Perhaps you can talk to the city, or given the fact that you are in this arena, it just would not, it would not be reasonable to allow someone who is in any way, shape, or form with code compliance, not complying, and sitting in a
They
position.
wait 8 years before they notify me
You know,
when.
I can tell you, Ms. Trineri, I do this in Destin, and the time does not matter. There are people who feel that they've been targeted by a neighbor or by someone who they've maybe upset. Regardless, you have to comply with the code.
Okay.
And so I am going to accept the city's proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, and I will sign this on behalf of Mr. Baumann.
If you could cross out the things, but if you're inclined to do so, Magistrate, what Mr. Bowman's done sometimes in the past is give a grace period to the fine starts accruing, and I know from experience before you in Destin, appearing before you, you've done the same for variance requests. Would you give a period of time to Mr. Neri before the fines start accruing?
I think that's a great idea, Mr. Burns, a great suggestion, because it will take you a little bit of time. Obviously, you've worked with the city, you've been part of the city. I do think if you are making, I'm not sure if anyone can give me some indication of how long trying to seek a variance, getting before the board.
Mr. Gibson, if someone makes a variance request code matters do get stayed, correct? Is that typically the cities, I've seen in my time, I've been,
What was the question?
if someone applies for a variance and they have a code violation, what I've seen in the past is the city will stay in the code proceeding to allow the variance proceeding to go forward, correct?
Typically, yes. So,
Yes, Mr. Neri, if he can,
to Tim Gibson, Planning Supervisor for the city, typically that is the case. We do work closely with the code enforcement. It's really up to code enforcement when they delay these two, but we do work very closely with them. A lot of times I will discuss with code enforcement like what the timeline we're looking at. The variants are heard at our local planning agency meetings. Those meetings are the first Thursday of every month. Due to advertisements and stuff like that, it's usually by about mid-month. We would be able to get it to the next code enforcement hearing.
But
So right now, there's no way we could get this to the May LPA hearing.
Right,
but we
and I
could
think that's
get
what
it
the
to
question
June.
was. The question, Bert, in this situation, would you be amenable, since I'm asking on behalf of the magistrate, are you amenable to allowing Mr. Neri, if she files a variance application, pays the fee, and goes forward before the LPA to stay code enforcement on this one particular case?
Sure, if she wants to pay the fee for the variance process, we would be glad to do that. Sounds like she doesn't have the funds for that. It would, it's up to her what she does, but it'd be much cheaper for her to take it down. And I was not trying to be rude to her when I told her, but it sounded like her best option was to take it down. If she wants to go for the variance, we would be glad with you giving her 30 or 60 days to pay that fee for the variance process. Then we could extend it further based on that.
And what do I do about my tenants? Because they rented it with knowing that the carports were there and they like the carports.
well, that's not what we're here for today.
Yeah, but I mean, these are issues that I have to deal with, so how am I supposed to do that since these have been up for so long?
Well,
People expect them, and the current tenants expect them to stay there.
here's, and Mr. Rhodes, I'll defer to you. I'm thinking I'm doing this with all respect because you did say that you do not have financial means at this point to pay what's required to seek a variance. If you want to take the carports down, I think 30 to 60 days is enough
They
time
cost me
to,
$5,000, I don't want to take them down.
well, then you'll have to apply for the variance. You're gonna have to seek the variance or take them down. I don't know that there's any other way around it at this point. So,
Well, I've already been told by Mr. Gibson that any variance that I apply for, he's going to deny. I've already been told that. Because that's his
I can
job.
be clear. There's a board, the Board of Adjustment is also the LPA. They decide variance requests.
And he doesn't have sole
He has
discretion.
no discretion, ma'am.
and
Good to know.
certainly, I think
And
maybe.
if I may clarify, we've spoken specifically, this is going to be the next case for her Bay Drive property on there. What I explained to Mr. Neri is that the LPA is the one who makes the decision. This has been in person meetings as well as in emails with her, explaining that the local planning agency will be the one who makes the decision. However, all of those are prepared by me, run through staff, and they do come with a staff recommendation. I've explained that there are 9 specific criteria in the Land Development Code that are required that the LPA find in the affirmative on in order to grant the approval of the variance. My initial assessment of it was that I would not be recommending approval to the board. However, the board is the one that makes the decision. They don't always go with my recommendation, but that this would typically be not recommended by me, specifically because one of the requirements on there is that this was not due to the actions of the property owner. Her putting the carports on there, clearly her actions, and based off that one criteria alone, I cannot recommend approval to the board. That's what was explained to her.
And Mr. Neri, I can tell you I was on the Board of Adjustment in Destin previously, and we had to deal with these requests for variances as well. And it is not just one individual. Mr.
I
Burns
didn't
is
know
correct.
that until he just.
So you will have an opportunity, whichever way you decide to go. I'm prepared to extend 60 days. Could we,
You can, the fine can start accruing in 60
In
days,
60 days.
but if she either applies for the variance and pays the fee, or removes the violation, then no fine accrues.
And would we want to come back for would we need to come back for hearing to see where she is in the 60-day period?
Actually,
Or
staff could go ahead and, if she comes into compliance, staff could go ahead and dismiss it, and then they would actually notice it for another hearing if she's,
Okay.
and send her a notice. So
Yeah.
you don't need to set a 60 days out at this point in
Now,
time.
what if Ms. Trenary is seeking the variance? Then you, on the city side, will just put a pause on everything as far as violations.
Can we
moving
put a
forward.
pause on her order?
If you put the verbiage in the order, and so you might need to
Tweak it.
wordsmith it a little bit
Okay.
later, so you just say it'll be stayed if she does apply and pay the variance fee within 60 days.
And Mr. Burns, what discretion do I have regarding because I do think the money is certainly better spent to assist you in seeking the variance or having the structures taken down. With regard to the administrative fee.
It's never been waived before,
Okay.
and staff will never consent to that.
Okay, so that would be the $325 that would need to be paid for all of us appearing here today. That's the administrative fee. So that is
I'm
now,
going to argue with that, but we have waived administrative fees. When I was on the board, we have.
I say staff has never consented to it.
Oh, okay.
okay. So we'll keep the $325. However, we will give you the 60 days to speak with your tenants to decide which direction you would like to go in. And then I will, if I can get the city to send, a staff to send me the findings of fact, conclusions of law. I think I may have gotten it in Word, so I can wordsmith it a little bit to comply with my ruling here today. And that means, just so you're fully clear, and you'll get a copy of my findings, fact, and the order. If in 60 days you have removed the structures, the matter is finalized, done, we don't need to deal with it any further. If you are seeking a variance, we can effectively put a pause, a pin in this proceeding,
I will be seeking.
okay, to allow you to
Is
move
it a way
forward.
to make a payment in 2 separate months instead of all in 1 month?
Honestly, I do not know the answer to that. You would need to speak with the powers that be, can assist you with that variance, or with any questions you may have seeking the variance. So that's what we'll do, and that way, hopefully, that can be resolved with the Board of Adjustment. If not, then we very well may be coming back here. Okay? So that concludes,
You can be seated, Magistrate. They're about to present your next case before, so you can take a breather.
case number CE 23613PR. So the next case that we have on the agenda is, I believe that also involves, thank you, also involves Ms. Trenary. So that's going to be case number CE 23338PR, and that is City of Fort Walton Beach versus Sharon I. and Gilligan G. Trenary. Okay, you may proceed, sir.
Thank you. Rich Taylor, City of Fort Walton Beach Code Enforcement. This is for case number CE 23338PR. Case pertains to the subject address 42 Bay Drive Northeast, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. According to the tax records, the owner of the property is Sharon Trenary. 245 days ago, on August 16th of 2023, the property was found in violation of Section 3.0105 permit required for a gazebo carport type structure. On December 26, 2023, service was obtained for the notice of violation. On January 5th, 2024, a reinspection of the property was found in violation and had not been corrected. I'm sorry, that was a reinspection. On March 14th, service was obtained for the notice of hearing. On August 16th, 2023, February 19th, 2024, and April 16th, 2024, photographs of the violations were taken. As of this morning, the property is still in violation. At This time, staff would like to enter the exhibits into the record. Exhibit A, case history report. Exhibit B, list of exhibits. Exhibit C, notice of hearing and proof of service. Exhibit D, notice of violation and proof of service. Exhibit E, copy of inspector's qualifications. Exhibit F, copy of tax record showing property ownership. Exhibit G, photos of the violation. Exhibit H are 2 plan review letters, and Exhibit I is the covenants document. Staff is requesting acceptance of the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and issuance of an Order 1, including $325 administrative fee. Staff also recommends 14 days for compliance as we make the compliance deadline on May 1st, 2024.
Okay, thank you. Do you have,
I do have some photographs. This structure was denied for setbacks, being built on a city easement, and for wind speed requirements for the roof.
What did you say about the roof?
Wind speed?
And you'll get a chance in a minute, Mr. Neri.
I just wish you could speak up.
Rich, your microphone, you think you
Mic up a little
angle a little bit, you're so tall that you speak over. Before you get going, I just have one question. I think I'll provide some clarification for the magistrate. And Rich, you might know the answer, or it might be a Tim Gibson question. Is this the type of case that a variance would not be granted for because it deals with the easement in the front yard? Or is this something that possibly the Board of Adjustment / LPA would consider?
So, for this particular case, I've been in a lot of communications with Ms. Trineri on this, leading back to September, October last year. The initial approach that we took on this one was that we would need a variance because it was within the setback requirements of 7.5 feet. And that's outlined in the land development code. That would have to have a variance for that. And that for the easement, we would need to vacate the easement that would end up going through city council. That there would be the 2 separate processes for that.
So there is a
However, we dug
procedure.
a little deeper, trying to help out as much as we can with this thing, and figured out, and this is where we worked, I think with you and with both Kim Kopp, to discuss maybe the possibility of doing a variance, because the land development code is what says you can't build in the easement. So if we can do a variance to the setbacks and a variance to the requirements in the code that says you can't build in the easement, that we might be able to just solve this with one variance versus doing the variance and the vacation of the easement.
So there is a pathway similar to the previous case for Mr. Nerish with the variance.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing I wanted to ask, Master and Rich, sorry for cutting into your presentation, sir. Thank you, Tim.
well, thank you, and I did note that, because I had written the structure tonight for setbacks, and I was wondering, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I have a few pictures.
Do we need to enter the exhibits into the record before we?
Yes, and Rich, as Mr. Neri had a chance to look at.
I think I'll be up here on that.
The photographs, please. Which is in the
Is this part of it?
that's where they start.
Special Magistrate Waterhouse.
Yes.
Just for further clarification, it was in one of those meetings with planning that she identified to us that she had the ones on the other property. That's how we identified it.
No,
So-
I did not, I'm sorry, I did not.
And anyway, just letting you know that that's how we came across the second property, was she's discussed her other property at one of the meetings for this property.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, and so I have exhibits A through I, and is there any objection, Ms. Trineri? Ms. Trineri?
I was looking at,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, because that was for the driveway.
Well, do you have any objections to the exhibits that you just reviewed being entered?
Well, just the dates are gonna be off, because that was the first time was for the driveway, which I had contracted another professional. I'm not doing this stuff myself. And, so I thought he should have known to pull a permit if one was needed.
Okay, so
So
I'm
the
going,
dates are wrong.
okay, I'm going to admit the exhibits A through I, and you can certainly testify to where you believe the dates are wrong with the
And I
exhibits.
don't think it makes that much difference, but if timing, when a fine starts, it might apply.
I understand, thank you. Okay, you may proceed, and go over what we're looking at here.
Okay, as inmate testimony on August 16th, this case began. Can you go back one more?
Yep.
It originally began with a paver driveway without a permit. And so I issued a stop work order. At the same time, I noticed the gazebo / carport structure that had been partially built. Go to the next one. This is the permit for the driveway has since been issued and finalized. So the driveway is not an issue anymore. The only thing at issue is this carport structure that you see here. So this was all pictures that I took on August the 16th. And then in February 19th, I took this picture. You can see that the roof timber structure has been taken down. And we thought it was going to come into compliance by removing the structure. That was not the case. As you'll see in a couple of more pictures, since February and yesterday, the carport structure was completed with the roof attached. The permit was denied in December 5th of 2023 for the wind speed, the easement, and the setback requirements. I do have Tim Gibson, the planning supervisor, that can speak to the easements,
Okay.
and Josh Stevenson, building official, who can speak to the wind speed for the roof if that's required.
Okay, I think it's sufficient to know, or just for the purposes that the permit was denied based on the city's review, the wind conditions. I don't know that we need testimony.
Correct, and those are included in the plan review letters that are part of the exhibits as well.
Okay. Okay.
I do believe Mr. Gibson did confirm the easement setback issue when you did your presentation a few months ago, too. So.
Okay. Is there anything further? I want to make sure that I get these dates. Actually, I've got them before I have to get these back. Okay, is there anything further, sir, at this time? Okay, thank you. Miss, is there anything further from the city? I know I just indicated we don't need to hear anything regarding why the permit was denied.
If I can just clarify one thing.
Absolutely.
The setback requirement for this, since it's over 200 square foot, is 7.5 foot from the side property line. The 5 foot is where the easement is, granted a 5 foot easement. I know there's been some confusion with Mr. Canary over why is somebody denying for 5 foot versus 7.5 foot. They're just two separate standards in there. This does sit within the easement and within the setback requirements. So that's why both of those are an issue here, but with the different numbers on them.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anything further from staff, city? Okay, Ms. Trineri?
Well, this is the first I'm hearing about, excuse me, I've got allergies. About the roof. When did that come into play? What's wrong with my roof?
Well, let's focus, let's talk to me at this point, regardless of the roof. It's
Well,
like-
I mean, this is a brand new construction, so.
Oh, I think we can
if
see
there's-
that.
I mean, if there's a problem, I need to know about it because I had a contractor do this.
Okay,
I'm getting some feedback from those viewing the video. If you wouldn't mind pulling that mic down, Mr. Taylor had it, he's taller, but they should be able to hear you better.
Okay, I'm sorry.
okay. Go ahead and tell me what, and we can square away any issues with the, absolutely.
This was the house as I purchased it.
Okay. Would you like me to enter these into evidence? We can do these as numbers.
Okay, I have the copies, the back
Okay, well,
from my file.
I guess, Mr. Neri, if you want them considered by the magistrate, they're evidence at that point. So you'll need to get the copies, and if you want to get the copies, the city might be able.
I'm just trying to make my life easy, so you keep them, that's all.
okay, so I'm gonna mark these as composite exhibit 1. So I'm gonna mark on your actual documents, and if you will, please show. I assume it would be, well, it would be
I guess collectively, the
Yeah.
code enforcement staff
code
between
enforcement
Bert
staff.
and Rich.
Let them see it first before I enter it.
And I thought the whole idea of code enforcement was to help the city look nicer. And that's all I'm trying to do. Now, granted, I screwed up with the carport. I did screw up with that, but everything else had been permitted. And even when they approved and I read and again, I couldn't find it, but I read in the code that you did not have to have a permit for the driveway to have poured concrete.
Well, with all due respect, that issue's been resolved, as I
Well, I know,
understand it.
but I mean, it goes to the point that I feel like I'm being really persecuted on this because I'm trying to do everything proper. I did screw up and I didn't even think about the carport and needing a permit. I didn't even think about that. But there have been other issues and I just feel like I've been harried to death over this house when all I'm trying to do is improve it.
Okay.
And it was an existing driveway to begin with, but I had to get a permit. You know, I feel like the city is just bleeding me for money.
Well, hang on a second. Okay, are there any objections to respondent's composite exhibit 1?
There are no objections and only one comment that, again, she sat on the board. She's heard cases for permits over
I admit that I
driveways.
screwed up on that one.
Okay, so respondent's composite exhibit 1 will be entered, and now, Ms. Trineri, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions?
No, please
I
don't.
don't want to interrupt if you were going to tell me. Okay. So with regard to, what do you mean by you admit that you messed up or screwed
Because
up?
I didn't even, I've been under so much pressure trying to get my house completed, that I just didn't even think about needing a permit for the carport. It just, quite honestly, it never entered my mind until I got a violation, and that was a shock to me.
Okay, well, one of my questions is, the permit was applied for, and according to testimony by the code enforcement officer, it was denied on December 5th, 2023, and
Right,
that
but
was-
they notified me that I needed a permit first.
Let me finish, and
I'm
then
sorry.
on December 5th, 2023, the permit was denied, and notwithstanding the denial of the permit, the roof, it seems like the carport was finished, and the roof was put on the carport. So even though the permit was denied, you moved forward with completing the carport.
I'll show you why. If
free to tell me as well. I mean,
Well, what was happening was I did put a tarp over it because the whole idea was, you know, to keep my car out of the sun. So I put a tarp over it. Well, then we started having rain. Well, the rain, you know, filled the tarp and it started sagging and sagging. And I'm not strong enough to lift it up and get the rain off. So I started cutting holes in the tarp so that the water would drain out. Well, then we started having these windstorms or whatever.
no, you indicated you had a company come and erect.
Not on this,
Not on the carport. You
not
do
on the
have-
carport, no.
Who erected that for you?
My friend who's an engineer.
Well, your friend should have applied for a permit timely, and your friend should have, the project should have stopped immediately when the
Well,
permit
I'm
was
trying to
granted.
show you why I didn't.
May I interject just one question to Mr. Rose? Mr. Rose, whether or not there's a roof on that structure, it would still be considered a violation, correct? Code violation, if the roof
With
is.
the frame, I believe our building official did allow her, at one point said that if she removed everything except the posts, that would be acceptable compliance, but she never did remove the frame and then continued to put the roof on it.
And it does look, as of August 16th, 2023, at that point in time, there was just what looks to be the wooden, I guess, support for what would be the roof now. So if
Correct.
Ms. Trineri or this engineer friend of hers had removed those structures and just left the posts,
Correct.
it would have been a non-issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me see. All right, well, and I need you to probably show, I'm gonna look at this.
Let's see what was
Okay, I
happening.
can see.
Is the wood.
It was
started-
sagging.
Well, and then then the water caused the wood to break, and then all the wood, so my friend was afraid that the wood was gonna, you know, pick up speed and come through one of the windows or something. So,
And when's the date of these pictures?
I don't know, probably 3 months ago.
Okay, so 3 months ago, that,
He thought it best that I,
can you show the staff, please? Or, I'm sorry, the officer, code compliance
I
officer?
started, you know, because of the rainwater. And it was breaking all the stanchions.
You couldn't take the tarp off, correct?
I couldn't.
Well, your engineer friend could have, I assume, if he has the ability to, well, I think we get the point that the tarp is sagging due to the rain. However, if you have an engineer friend who is able to erect that sort of structure, your engineer friend was capable of taking it down. And if it was 3 months ago, that would have been after the permit was denied. If the wood was breaking,
Well, we were trying to, my neighbor, as you can see, is in the same violation, and so she's been cited as well. And so we were going to apply, I talked to the county commissioner, Trey Goodern, and he said apply for to vacate because she has lived there more than 50 years.
well, she's not before me today, you are.
I understand, but I'm trying to explain what my thinking process was, that we're going to apply for a notice to vacate because nobody has ever used that easement, and we're questioning why can we not use the land that we're paying taxes on?
Even with the easement, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that even the easement being set aside to get a variance on that, you're still gonna have an issue with the fact that there's an erected carport. Because of all of that. And you did not apply for the permit before you erected that, and then even though the permit was denied, your engineer friend continued to finalize and complete this project on your property.
Because it was dangerous not to complete it. The wood was breaking and the wood was gonna
Then it
damage
should have been
everything.
taken down. Or the roof should have been removed. You don't move forward when you clearly have a permit that's been denied. You don't, especially with you being in, like I said, this arena, your permit was denied. You don't move forward with erecting a structure that you clearly got denial from the city on.
Well, again, I feel like I was being harassed and I feel like there were exceptions, but they had to see what the rest of the permit or what it was supposed to be, because obviously it's not going to be approved in the state that he was looking at it. So I was hoping that when we got the variance or got the vacate or whatever other paperwork that was necessary. Yes, I've been in this arena, but the arena has changed radically since I've been here and since I've been on the board. We've only had one meeting because they've just decided to go to a magistrate rather than the board. So I really believe that I would have probably gotten this approved if I had been appearing in front of 7 people instead of 1. But the structure needed to be finished because it was otherwise creating a danger. So if it has to come down or be moved or whatever, then I'll appeal it, but I am going to put in for a vacate, a notice to vacate, because again, that easement and the setbacks have never been, that property was platted in 1955. The house was built in 1955. Peggy, Miss Mitchell has lived there for 50 years. She says it's never been used. There's no reason to have an easement there. And there's, you know, when I'm improving the property and there are so many trash properties in that neighborhood, why am I being picked on when all I've done is, you know, add value to the neighborhood?
Well, and I agree with that. Be that as it may, there's a process in place. You apply for a permit.
Well, again, I think I've pissed off somebody in the city because I'm being targeted because there's no reason that this is happening. And when I had, I'm sorry, but when I did have the permit for the plumbing and they went underneath the driveway, they still allowed, they approved the plumbing, but it still they did not connect the sewer to the water system in the house. So what good is a permit if they're not going to inspect? Because it flooded my house 3 times. Well, so I'm a little miffed with the city.
Well, I glean that. However, this seems to be, you can't take action and instead of asking for permission, ask for forgiveness. Certainly there is you can go seek a variance at this point, but.
Just throw more money at it. That's the city's answer. Okay.
Well, I find is definitely, you apparently you just told me in the other case, you don't have money to seek a variance or to take those carports down.
Well, I'll take out another loan because I'm not
arguing with you. I'm talking now because I'm making my findings of fact. Unless there are any other testimony that you would like to put on the record, you certainly may. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I'm going to do what Mr. Goodwin recommended, is apply for a notice to vacate, and he told me that there should be no fine and no penalty or no fee to apply for a vacate.
Okay, well, I assume you mean Trey Goodwin?
Yes.
Okay, well, then if I'm not going to speak to whatever he may have told you, he's certainly not here to testify or to indicate what he said to you. However, my findings are, you just testified in the prior case that you did not have money to move forward on a variance or to have the 2 carports taken down. However, I am speaking now. During the same period, you've just erected a very nice carport even after the permit was clearly denied in December. You moved forward with erecting this structure knowing that you were in violation. And again, with you being in this arena, working with code enforcement, the rules apply to everyone. You may not get hit immediately. You may not get hit it could have been 2 years before this gets caught or you get caught. But the code is in place for a reason. And just because your friend may not have, or your neighbor may not have had an issue for years and had her little bit of a carport erected, well, she's getting caught now, apparently, and so are you. So the findings of fact, I accept that you willfully and intentionally continue to erect this structure. If you want to move forward with a variance, that's fine. I can put the same language in place that I will for the other case that we had with regard to 60 days, unless staff has some objections to that. You will be paying the $325 administrative fee today. I will not even consider waiving that. So I will, if I can get this to me in Word, I believe this one was sent to me as well, I will wordsmith it and do my own findings of fact. So that concludes case number CE-23-3338-PR. Thank you all very much, and I am going to
He's applied to have.
take my leave, and Mr. Bauman can take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
And I'll be in contact with you,
Thank
over
you
the,
very much. And here are the exhibits, if you would like to take them back.
You got me set up.
and while you're getting seated, Mr. Bauman, I just want to find out who's actually present real quick. It's been a
Yes, I was
meeting.
gonna ask that too.
Okay, I'll do that.
Does it look like we only have 2 respondents here? Is that correct?
In what case,
It's going to be up next.
Ed, do you know what case numbers those are, so I can...
Are you Mr. Partlow? Yes. Okay. And, sir, who you on? Okay.
Mr. Burns, we still need to hear item.
We'll get to the minutes in a second.
Yeah.
He's getting
And the
seated, so,
agenda.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll take those cases out of order from the agenda since they're sitting here.
Actually, we will not need to adjust because the 3 cases between them and now are, 2 of them are complied, 1 of them has no service, so we're going to be right on
Okay.
schedule.
Okay, you want to, let me approve the minutes first.
Okay, approve the
Okay.
minutes and then we'll adjust the agenda.
First off, my name is Steve Bauman, not to be confused with my son Kyle Bauman, who is who's been handling this special master position for the last few months. We have a joint contract, so we tag team off. He was unable to appear today, so appreciate the opportunity to appear. So, Mr. Rhodes, I understand that we have some announcements regarding, I'm sorry, let me approve the minutes. I have, for the record, I have reviewed the minutes from the last meeting. I find them to be in order and I approve them.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's the only housekeeping matter that we have.
What is the agenda?
So I guess approve of the agenda as adjusted, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll have some adjustments. Basically, 8.3 and 8.4 are now complied, and 8.5, there's no service, so we're not going to hear that one. And then we can move to 8.6, which we do have a respondent here.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. So I will approve the agenda as adjusted.
Okay, and then on 8.6, I don't know if you want to hear me read the case report or not, but basically the respondent is here, and as of minutes ago, a permit for his case has been applied for. It's not been issued yet because the contractor is still needs to register with the city. He tried to register with the county in error, so there was a delay. We were just wanting to go ahead and continue that one until next month, and then that way if he gets the permit, we can take it off of there.
Okay. Thank you. So that case, which number was it?
That is a CE 23602 PU, and it's 145 Alabama. So if we can just extend that until the May hearing.
Yes, sir. That case was a unpermitted structure, as I recall, correct?
And can we get the respondent just to acknowledge on the record that he knows that it's been extended, and he'll have to be at the next month's hearings if it's not in
Yes,
compliance?
if you can just stand up where you
Just,
are.
can I actually go up to the microphone?
Well, probably need the microphone, yes.
Yeah. The audio's not too good, the crowd, so.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If you would just, you heard Mr. Rhodes' announcement regarding the application for your
Yes.
permit, and do you agree with what he said?
Yes, I literally just
And
forwarded
do you
it.
agree to continue today's hearing until the next month, and we'll see how your application is progressing?
Okay, so does that mean that I have until next month to get that
Well,
resolved, or how does that work?
The
Yeah,
permitting
as long
process
as
takes
he's
some time.
got the permit and final inspection prior to that hearing, we'll not hear him back here. Otherwise, he needs to be back here And what is the date on that, Amber? May,
How many days out? Oh,
what's the next magistrate hearing in May? Just third Wednesday
yes, 1 moment.
at 9 a.m.?
While she's looking at that date, Bert, what's the position on the administrative fee?
With continuance, we would not,
You waive it, or it goes
yeah,
away?
there'd be
Okay.
no order, no administrative fee.
Okay. All right, did you give them the,
May 15th?
May 15th would be the next
9
date?
a.m., May 15th.
If you've got everything cleared off by then, that case will not be on the agenda, and the case will be dismissed.
And contact me as soon as it is, just because other departments, I may not hear from the permit department when that is final issued and final. Thank you.
And I was, you should assume you should have to show up on May 15th at 9 a.m. unless you're here otherwise, okay?
Set it aside on your calendar, but hopefully you won't have to be back. Okay?
Thank
All
you,
right.
thank you for
Take
coming.
care. Have a good day.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Partlows. Those cases are,
Yes, what is it, 8.7?
Robert Rhodes, Code Inspector, City of Fort Walton Beach.
that deals with 57 Silva Drive, correct?
Yes, sir. This is case number CE 24-79-MAN. This case pertains to subject address of 57 Silva Drive Northwest. According to the tax records, the owner of said property is John C. Partlow. 71 days ago, on February 6, 2024, property was found in violation of fence maintenance, section 5.07.01, subsection B, for failure to repair and maintain damaged and deteriorated fences. Also, maintenance general, subsection 5.07.01, for failure to repair and maintain structures on the property. Following items were damage and disrepair. The front and rear garage door are damaged and or missing. The privacy fence and chain link fences around the property are damaged and deteriorated with missing sections. The rear deck, stairs, and stair railing are damaged and deteriorated with missing sections of railing. Read my next line. March 13th, 2024, a re-inspection of the property found the violations had not been corrected. Oh, there's a line missing there. Hold on, it's underneath the... I just reprinted this. Let me forget that line. Oh, there it is. On February 13th, 2024, service was obtained for the notice of violation. On March 13th, 2024, re-inspection of the property found the violation had not been corrected. On March 18th, 2024, service was obtained for the notice of hearing. On February 5th, February 6th, March 13th of 2024, photographs of the violations were taken, and as of April 17th, 2024, photographs of the one more time. On April 17th, 2024, the property remains in violation. At this time, staff would like to enter the exhibits into the record. Exhibit A is the case history report. Exhibit B is a list of exhibits. Exhibit C, notice of hearing and proof of service. Exhibit D is a notice of violation and proof of service. Exhibit E is a copy of the inspector's qualifications. Exhibit F is a copy of the tax record showing the property's ownership. Exhibit G are the photographs of the violations. Staff is requesting acceptance of the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and issuance of Order 1, including the $325 administrative fee. Staff also recommends 30 days' time for compliance of the violations. This would make the compliance deadline on May 17th, 2024. I will let the respondent review the exhibits before we enter them into the record, see if he has any objections to the documents. He has no objections to the documents. Let you have those, and I'll go ahead and put the PowerPoint up on the presentation.
Thank you. The exhibits A through, I think it's F,
Yes, sir.
A through F are admitted without objection.
Okay. There is a second case following this for litter and non-operative vehicles at the same property. So there's quite a few photographs that include both in here. I've made 2 separate PowerPoints, but you'll see a lot of the same stuff in both of them. Okay, these, let me make it a little bigger for you. This is the front of the property, and you see in the left picture some fence maintenance, and then on the right, and obviously some litter. And this is just the front of the property at that time on February the 5th. This is February the 6th in the back of the property. You can see the stair railing and stairs are damaged there, and some litter there. Fence planks that are down from the rear privacy fence. This left picture, February 6th, is where the fence is all just missing and damaged. And the one on the right side there is February 6th, again, of the rear deck and railing, stairs. One on the right is more missing fence and damaged fence. This is still February 6th, rear of the property. You see behind this magnolia tree, there's probably be a better picture in a minute. There's the deck and railing up there that's damaged. Here it is, a little better picture. These are taken from the adjacent property, that's why they're so far away. And that's pretty much what we have for you as far as the fence maintenance and the maintenance general. But like I said, there will be another case for litter and non-operative vehicles following this case.
Okay. Anything else from the city?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Parker?
Yes. Yeah, I obviously don't live here. This is my 96-year-old dad's house. I grew up there, but, you know, of course, moved out at like 85 or something. But I'm pretty much single-handedly trying to get the place cleaned up. I just got power of attorney, and as Mr. Rose knows, he has not really been, he's been a thorn in the side of the city about, it's been like this for obviously years and years. And
When you say he, you mean your father?
yeah, my father. And
Can we get the respondent's name and address for the record?
Yes. Please
Calvin
state your name
Parker.
and address. Go ahead. State your name.
address to where I live, yeah, 135 Mississippi Avenue,
Okay.
Long
And,
Beach.
Is that here for?
Yeah, it's for Long Beach.
and state your name. I think I
Calvin
spelled it.
Parklow.
Thank you.
Calvin.
Mhm.
Can you spell your last name for us with a minute?
Partlow.
Hartwell. Thank you.
And clear on the record that the house at issue is owned by your father, is that correct?
Yes, and I've recently just gotten power of attorney over it so I can actually do something because, you know, he's not really been, basically he's been a thorn in the side, like I said, to the city that over the years, you know, he just, I don't know, there's my nephew and lives there as well. He's also a wannabe mechanic, you know, and all this stuff has just accumulated over the years, but there's so much stuff. Right now, you know, I've got about 50% of it cleaned up. I have a picture, if you want to see this morning, what it looks like today in the front. That I've made a lot of progress. I'm funding it by myself. I had to buy a 20-yard dumpster to put everything in. You know, so it's slow going because it's just me. So.
Understand.
And there's just so much, I can't really get to the fence and the porch because there's so much junk and trees growing up between all the stuff that makes it hard to get to. I'm just going at my own pace and hope to get it cleared up as soon as possible.
I hear you testify that you think about 50% of have been
Yeah, I
cleaned
mean,
up. And
I did take pictures today if you want more current ones.
Okay,
The front
just-
is much better.
do you agree that that is approximately what you see, Mr. Rhodes?
If you were referring to the front, yeah, the front's definitely much better, but there's still a ton of work in the back. He's got a long way to go, and that's what I told him. You know I requested 10 days. It's probably going to take him longer than that. I would not object to whatever time frame he thinks he can finish it in.
And check, are we conflating the two cases now? Because one case.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we're still on the maintenance case.
Right. But you just want to go and take all, I think you can handle testimony for both at once.
Let me add, is your testimony any different in the other case? I think you testified.
No, it's, yeah, the same situation.
Okay, you testified your cousin or someone must be responsible.
My nephew lives there, and he was just diagnosed last summer with multiple myeloma, so he can't even do anything now. And a lot of it was his. At least he's not contributing anymore. My dad's not contributing anymore because he's 96, and this stuff has just been there for years and years. And some of it was my brother's stuff, and he just had a liver transplant in January, so he's no help. So I'm willing to do it, but it's just going to take me a while.
Yeah, I understand. Let me just make sure the city doesn't have any objection to us basically considering these two cases.
No, that would be fine. We will need two separate orders because they're going to have different time frames, and he'll obviously even need more on this one for the structural repairs than for the litter cleanup.
Okay, well, let's talk about structural repairs. How much time do you think you would need to come in compliance?
As far as like the fence, or just everything. So the fence is a biggie, I assume, and I don't even know, I mean, because do I have to hire a contractor for the fence? I mean, I could
He could
do it
remove the
myself.
fence altogether if the yard were clean.
I was going to ask that question. So you would have the option to just simply remove the fence.
Yeah.
And if it's not serving any purpose, you may like to choose that option.
Yeah, that may be the way to go.
I assume though the railings on the deck, those things that are attached to the house, since you have a deck, you're going to have railings in compliance.
Yes, and that may very likely require an engineered drawing for the deck. I'm not sure.
Yeah, to rebuild it for sure, but to dismantle it, I mean, I can do all that, but it's just going to take some time.
I mean,
Yeah, he'd have to get with the building official and see what the minimum he could do, if he can do it without an engineer, if he just removes it all, but then you still have the issue with the second door, the door upstairs to nowhere.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Is there?
So I can't answer that one. That would be the building official to determine
whether you just can block it off or do wall over it or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things that would have to be determined, you know, in consultation with the city engineer. But as far as those matters, how much time? And make
Yeah, I
sure
would say
you don't
months.
short yourself on it. We just need to know.
Yeah, I would say months. I mean,
Would 60 days be sufficient?
How many, I'm sorry?
60?
To do it all, I mean, I work full time, obviously, but
And this would just be right now, we're talking about the maintenance issues, correct?
correct.
and that includes the porch. Yeah, that's the
Fence.
The porch and the fence.
You
and
said garage doors too.
Garage doors,
Yeah, I mean,
if
we're
they're,
talking just a few hours after work every day. It's going to take a while. I don't know if 60 days would do it,
Would the city be okay with 90 days?
sure.
but my priority was the front, you know, and it's way better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak for the city, but even after 90 days, as long as there's been some good progress made,
He could come back
you can
before
come
you
back and we
and
can.
ask for additional time.
Right, right. So we'll say 90 days to deal with the maintenance side of the case.
And so for the clear record, Your Honor, that'd be case number C-2479 MAN, you're giving him 60 days? That'd be 90 days. And you're assessing the administrative fee?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have the litter.
Do you want me to go ahead and read the case report on the litter one?
Yes.
So we can have that on the record? Okay.
Mr. Parley, if you want to have a seat, and then.
Well, then, for the record on this one, I did not get the certified thing from the post office back as far as the service on this particular case. I know I did email it to Calvin, and I don't know whether they received the notice of hearing. So if we can get that on the record, as far as service, are you received the notice of hearing?
Yes.
For this hearing?
For this hearing?
Yes, obviously.
Yeah, okay. So you acknowledge, for purpose of the record, that you received the notice of hearing, and that you haven't suffered any prejudice because of not receiving the formal notice in the certified mail?
All right, I'm Robert Rhodes, Code Inspector, City of Fort Walton Beach. This is case CE 24-64-LIT. This case pertains to subject address 57 Silver Drive, Northwest, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. According to the tax records, the owners of said property is John C. Partlow. 77 days ago, on January 31st, 2024, the property was found in violation of litter, section 5.04.01, subsections 1 through 7, and 5.04.02, subsections 2, 4, 6, 7, and 9, for prohibited accumulation outside storage of pallets, scrap wood, buckets, wood shipping containers, tools, ladders, power equipment, pressure washing equipment, tarps, non-operative lawn furniture, household items, litter and debris, on and on there. Nuisance section 5.04.01 and 5.04.02 for failure to maintain the grounds and structures on the property in a manner that prevents the harboring of rodents and other pests. The property has a large amount of debris and abandoned vehicles, overgrowth, and the structure is unsecured, including the areas at the front and rear of the garage where the garage doors are missing and or damaged. The stairs and railings in the rear deck area are damaged and deteriorated with missing sections of railing and deck. The stairs are a hazard. The debris and overgrowth and unsecured structures is providing an ideal place for harboring of rodents, snakes, and mosquitoes and other pests. The open visibility of storage of non-operative vehicles and debris on the property is also a nuisance as described by code. Okay. Also code section, did it again. Also unlicensed non-operative items, section 5.04.01 and 5.04.02, subsections 9 and 10 for prohibited accumulation outside storage of unlicensed non-operative vehicles, including cars, trucks, and an aircraft in the front and rear yards. On February 13th, 2024, service was obtained for the notice of violation. On February 26, 2024, re-inspection of the property found the violations had not been corrected. On March 12, 2024, a notice of hearing was sent via certified mail, and service was attempted on March 15, 2024. However, USPS did not provide further update on the proof of service. However, as of today's hearing, the respondent has acknowledged that he did receive notice. And also on February 13th, 2024, the notice of hearing was sent via email to Calvin Partlow at pedaltothemetal@gmail.com. February 5th, February 6th, and March 13th of 2024, photographs of the violations were taken. And on April 17th, 2024, the property remains in violation. At this time, staff would like to enter the exhibits into the record. Exhibit A is a case history report. Exhibit B is a list of exhibits. Exhibit C is a notice of hearing and proof of attempted service. Exhibit D is a notice of violation and proof of service. Exhibit E is a copy of the inspector's qualifications. Exhibit F is a copy of the tax record showing the property's ownership. Exhibit G are the photographs of the violations, and staff is requesting acceptance of the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and issuance of order 1, including the $325 administrative fee. Staff also recommends 10 days time for compliance with the violations. This would make the compliance deadline on April 27th, 2024. I will see if Mr. Partlow has any objections to the exhibits before we enter them into the record. Mr. Partlow has no objections to the exhibits.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
I know the other PowerPoint for you, but it's very similar. It has a little bit more litter and less of the structural stuff that you just
First, for the
saw.
record, let me state that the city's exhibits A through F will be accepted into evidence. It's an A through F or G. Maybe it's G.
So this is again February 5th, litter in a non-operative aircraft in the front yard. This is litter and debris in the front yard, February 5th. These are February 5th, closer of the litter in the driveway. He has made significant progress, as he said, so I do have photos from this morning if you'd like to see the progress he made.
As long as you agree that he's made progress, we won't need to see the photos.
Okay. Again, this is February 5th, February 6th, in the rear yard. This is also the rear yard litter. This is February 6th, the rear yard. There's another non-operative vehicle in the rear yard. Actually, I believe that's gone today. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that vehicle's been removed, or I think it's relocated to the side yard, if I remember. He could tell you better. This is the backyard again, March 13th. The backyard still has quite a bit of litter today, but it's definitely had some work done to it. And that's what I have for you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Anything else from the city?
No, sir.
I will correct the record. I've accepted A through G into evidence. Exhibits A through G from the city. Mr. Partlow, do you have anything in addition to that?
Just doing
If
the best
you'll
I can.
get up to the podium so we make sure we get a good record.
No, I'm working out just about every day when I can after work and on the weekends. So.
Has the city recommended 10 days?
We did, but it looks like more than 10 days, especially if he's working full time.
Right.
So that's, I told him to ask for what he thinks he needs. I don't want to see him get an order,
Right.
you know, a
Yeah,
fine.
I don't think the city wants to set you up for failure. They're rooting for you to make this happen.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure for the neighbors and everyone involved.
And what was the 10 days for in particular?
For the litter and non-operative vehicles.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then it does say for the deck, because it's unsafe, so if you could secure that
Yeah.
somehow so that people can't get on it.
Okay.
You know, whether it's lock, you know, secure the door and the access to go up to it
Okay.
at the bottom.
And
That would eliminate the hazard.
So the same question to you was posed with regard to the maintenance case, so to speak. The litter case, I assume you're going to tell me 10 days is not sufficient. What is a reasonable
I think
expectation?
30, I guess, if that's okay.
Okay. You sure? Okay, 30 days?
Yeah, I mean, for just small items, litter items, yeah, I
But
can
what about
make a
the
sweep
vehicles?
and get a lot of that. I'm gonna have to get another dumpster. I filled up one, and those are like $600 a
Don't we have some issues with some?
We have some vehicles, if he can remove those, I don't know what his time.
Yeah,
30 days.
I actually washed that vehicle and took pictures, and I'm gonna post it for sale.
Okay.
Is there an airplane too?
Yeah, I heard.
Airplane is gone.
That one's going.
He did make some good progress, like I said, you know,
All right.
it's a lot.
Here's
less
what I'm
work.
going to do. I'm going to be generous with you and give you 45 days.
Okay.
Because we want you to succeed.
Okay.
Okay? So 45 days, I'm not sure what date that would be. We'll hope that that's sufficient on the litter case. Okay? Anything else from the city on this one?
No, sir, just like clarification that you're issuing order one with administrative fee in 45 days.
Yes, correct.
45 days is Saturday, June 1st.
Okay.
So it'll move forward to the next Monday.
Yeah, whatever that is. Yes, and yes, the administrative fee will be imposed. Okay. Anything else, Mr.
No.
Carpenter? Well, good luck to you.
All right, thanks. Okay. So I'm good to go and,
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
all right, thanks.
One other thing before we move on. I just want to announce on the record that I'm adopting the findings of fact that were submitted to me with the addition of the time limits for compliance. I think that's the only thing that will change on
Yeah, on that particular one, yes, we'll see the 45 days.
45 days. And my understanding with Bert, you and Kyle, you basically will make that change and email it to me and I'll sign.
Yes,
And
sir.
I'll bring a hard copy back to you tomorrow. Or
Very
Kyle.
good, yes, we'll email them over to you as soon as we get them prepared.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you. All right. We got one more.
The last case on the agenda
All right.
should be 8.9. It's, my name's Ed Moore, Code Inspector, City of Fort Walton Beach. This is case number CE 2454 UNO. The case pertains to subject address at 11 Rue de la Roy Street, Northeast, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. According to the tax records, the owner of said property is Brian D. Setterberg Trust. 83 days ago, on January 25th, 2024, the property was found in violation of litter, section 50401, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 50402, 2, 4, 6, 7, and 9. There's a prohibited accumulation, outside storage of litter, and a large pile of tree cuttings and debris on the property. The other violation was unlicensed non-operative items, section 50401 and 50402, 9, and 10, that prohibited outside storage of an unlicensed non-operative vehicle on the property. On February 29, 2024, service was obtained for the notice of violation. On March 18, 2024, reinspection of the property found the violations have not been corrected. On March 28, 2024, service was obtained for the notice of hearing, and on April 15, 2024, photographs of the violations were taken, and today on April the 17th, 2024, the property remains in violation. At this time, staff would like to enter the exhibits into the record. Exhibit A is a case history report, Exhibit B is a list of exhibits, Exhibit C is a notice of hearing and proof of service, Exhibit D is a notice of violation and proof of service. Exhibit E is a copy of the inspector's qualifications. Exhibit F, copy of the tax record showing the property's ownership. And Exhibit G are photographs of the violations. Staff is requesting acceptance of the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and issuance of Order 1, including the $325 administrative fee. Staff also recommends 14 days' time for compliance of the violation with the recommended compliance deadline of May 1st, 2024.
And there's no respondent here,
No, sir.
and we
I
haven't
was
seen.
hoping they'd show up. Good news is I was out there this morning and the litter, tree cuttings are still there. I guess they had a tree removed some time ago and they just left it. The unlicensed non-operative vehicle, which is that van, has been removed. So we're making progress.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, first we'll accept city's exhibits A through G in evidence without objection, since there's no one here to object. And we will agree to the city's recommendation of 14 days to cure the non-compliances, and that would leave a deadline of May 1st. And also, we will impose the payment of the administrative fee of $325.
Very good.
Okay. Anything else before the magistrate today?
No, sir, that's all we
You
got.
get the gavel if you want.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
That's like 6 repetitions in baseball.
Yeah.